Justice is often imagined as something clean and distant, handled by systems we trust to be fair and restrained. But there's a more unsettling version of it that thrives in private spaces, where punishment becomes personal and power goes unchecked. When technology, wealth, and moral certainty collide, accountability can quietly disappear, replaced by control, surveillance, and suffering justified as righteousness. Stories that thrive in this space force us to sit with uncomfortable questions. Who gets to decide what justice looks like? How far retribution is allowed to go? And what happens when empathy is removed from the equation entirely? Hello friends, and welcome back to ETF. After about a dozen and a half opening financier logos, I finally went into Locked, expecting a tightly wound psychological thriller built around performance and restraint. With Bill Skarsgård and Anthony Hopkins headlining a single-location survival story, the ingredients were there for something sharp and unsettling. What I got instead was a film that is often tense and well-acted, but ultimately limited by a premise it never quite pushes far enough. The story follows Eddie, a struggling petty thief who breaks into what appears to be an unattended luxury SUV. Once inside, he realizes the vehicle has been deliberately left as a trap. The car's owner, William, remotely controls it, and subjects Eddie to escalating physical and psychological torment. The film unfolds almost entirely within the confines of the vehicle, turning a modern symbol of wealth and security into a weaponized prison. The film's minimalist setup is Locke's greatest strength. The claustrophobia is immediate, and the film understands how unsettling confinement can be when paired with isolation and surveillance. Director David Yarevsky keeps the focus narrow, allowing the tension to come from the situation rather than a spectacle. For much of the runtime, the film succeeds simply by refusing to give Eddie, or the audience, any room to breathe. Bill Skarsgård carries the film, naturally. His performance is grounded and physical, emphasizing exhaustion, fear, and desperation rather than a theatrical panic. Eddie is not portrayed as a heroic figure, but he is humanized enough that his suffering feels uncomfortable to watch. The film asks the audience to sit with that discomfort, even as it reminds us that Eddie's situation is the result of his own choices. Anthony Hopkins, by contrast, plays William as cold and absolute. His character believes he is delivering justice, not cruelty, and Hopkins leans into that certainty. William's calm voice and moral conviction make him unsettling, but the film offers little complexity beyond that. His motivations are explained, but not examined in any meaningful depth, and the result is a villain who is effective in the moment, but thin on reflection. This is where Locke begins to falter for me. The film gestures toward themes of class divide, privilege, and vigilante justice, but it really engages with them beyond surface-level implications. William's wealth allows him to engineer a private punishment system, while Eddie's poverty leaves him vulnerable. A dynamic that could have been deeply explored, but instead remains largely symbolic. The story repeats cycles of suffering without significantly expanding its ideas. The single-location format also becomes a limitation over time. While the tension remains steady, the film struggles to escalate in ways that feel fresh. The technological tricks of the vehicle are clever, but they eventually feel like variations of the same threat rather than meaningful progression. The narrative stalls where it should be sharpening its point. That said, Locked is never boring. The performances are strong enough to maintain engagement, and the premise itself is inherently disturbing. There is something deeply uncomfortable about watching justice become mechanized and personalized, stripped of accountability or compassion. Even when the film doesn't fully explore its implications, the idea still lingers. By the end, Locked feels like a solid but restrained thriller. A film with a sharp hook and committed performances that never quite transforms into something deeper. It works best as a contained exercise in tension and endurance, but it stops short of making a lasting thematic impact. I admired its discipline and atmosphere, even as I couldn't help but feel that it left too much potential locked away. Well, friends, that's gonna be all for now. If you are interested in this film, I urge you to check it out for yourself and formulate your own thoughts and opinions about it. I hope you come share those thoughts and opinions in the comments. Let me know if there are any movies that you would like to see discussed on this channel. I always love to hear from you guys, and I do my best to try and respond to everyone. As always, I've put a link down in the description to a physical copy of this film, if one exists, that you can add to your collection. Using that link helps out the channel, and that's always appreciated. If you like this video, I urge you to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you aren't already. I know that some of you watching aren't subscribed, so help out the channel and subscribe. If you'd like to go the extra mile and support the channel even more, we do have a couple options for you to do so. You can join us on Patreon, where you can get yourself early access to future videos, Patreon exclusive content, and access to the ETF Digital Archive. We get a lot of compliments about the VHS collection that you guys see in the background of our videos. Well, we've been hard at work slowly digitizing the collection and creating a place where we can share it with all of you. Thanks to the help of the Plex platform, we can now do just that. This is our way of doing our part in helping preserve that gritty, nostalgic VHS look and feeling before it's gone forever. With Plex, you can stream our VHS collection from anywhere at any time. It's basically like having a streaming service for VHS, which I think is pretty cool. Additionally, if you're tired of adding to your growing list of monthly subscriptions, you can help support the channel on Ko-Fi, where you can drop a single tip, the cost of a cup of coffee, or less. No pressure, no tiers required. But with all the same monthly benefits that you will find on Patreon offered as well. We also have a Mercari store where you can go and get yourself a little piece of the ETF archive. While collecting VHS, Blu-rays, and DVDs over many years, we wind up with lots of duplicates, and we unfortunately can't store them all. So on our Mercari shop, we have all of those for sale. Purchasing those not only expands your collection, but makes room for us to expand ours. All the links for everything are down in the description. Until next time, stay safe. And as always, thanks for watching.